everyone, it's Maki here. One of the charms of the Gundam series is that each fan can have various interpretations. Hearing how people other than yourself interpret it can also be a fun experience. Now, in Gundam Seed Destiny, one of the heroines, Stellar Loser, meets a tragic end. Shin takes her body from the battlefield, which had been modified physically and mentally due to the circumstances of adults. In the falling snow, he surges Stellar in a lake. The contrast between the fantastical scenery and the tragic ending is a striking scene. Among many fans, there exists an opinion like this. Wouldn't the body float back up due to decay and gas, becoming a gruesome sight if submerged in water? When I came across this opinion, I felt it was somewhat graceless. Certainly, if considering realistic phenomena, such a situation would occur. However, I thought that this scene valued the overall atmosphere more than realistic phenomena. For example, in the stage art of musicals, actors express the character's emotions through song. It's an unrealistic scene, but there is an atmosphere that can be created through such expression. I had a similar perspective on this scene. But I also think it is important to try to understand opinions that differ from our own. This time, let's think about the phenomenon of stellar submerged in the lake decaying. Of course, today's talk will also include a lot of my personal interpretation. First, let's analyze why Shin chose to mourn Stellar alone. This is simple. He didn't want anyone else to harm Stellar's body any further. This happens just before the scene where Shin hands over Stellar to the Earth Alliance. Shin overhears a conversation between the Manover's captain, Talia Gladys, and the doctor. He learns that Saft's council needs Stellar as a sample of the extended type of enhanced human, and they are planning to analyze her through an autopsy. Shin had felt anger at the sight of the Earth Alliance treating humans as experimental animals in their laboratories in this scene. He is deeply shocked to realize that the people of Saft, including Talia Gladys, share a similar mindset. The novel version provides more detailed descriptions of Talia Gladys' state of mind. She understands that her actions are not morally right as a human being. At the same time, she also comprehends the recklessness of Shin's actions in returning Stellar to the Earth Alliance without permission. She had anticipated the kind of situation that would arise by returning Stellar, who could not choose her own way of life, to the Earth forces. This prediction comes true with the deployment of the Destroy Gundam, resulting in the loss of more lives. Analyzing the technology of the Extended is also meaningful in itself. This is not a matter limited to the benefit of the military. Capturing terrifying technologies and experiments clearly is also the first step. In control by human reason, it leads to the establishment of various prohibitions and prevents further tragedies. Captain Gladys was acting with sincerity, considering various balances. However, an incident of unauthorized return of a prisoner occurred due to Shin, who saw only a part of her actions. Of course, it is also problematic that the captain made remarks ignoring the human rights of prisoners in a place where a passing soldier could easily overhear. Perhaps she might have had a mild form of the ideology of discriminating against naturals unconsciously. Shin had a reason not to let anyone else touch Stellar, even if she was already a corpse. But why did he choose to sink her body into the lake? A form of water value here. Let's consider reasons other than prioritizing the beauty of the scene as entertainment. There were other ways for Shin to save Stella from selfish adults. Cremation was also an option. Just as Luke Skywalker quietly cremated Anakin Skywalker, there was also an option for Shin to cremate Stella. Shin, aboard the Impulse Gundam, had the means to cremate Stella, for instance using a beam saber. In the Gundam series, the element of using tools made as weapons of war for purposes other than war often appears as an important component. In the 8th Mobile Suits team, a bath was made using a beam saber. In Turn A Gundam, there are depictions of washing and drying laundry, scenes depicting the existence created as weapons enjoying comfortable and present daily lives are important elements in the Gundam series. Cremation is a farewell ceremony and doesn't carry the present impression. These scenes do, however, rescuing Stella from a fate of being dissected as an experiment subject, and drugged could also be interpreted as protecting her peaceful slumber. But Shin did not cremate Stella. The subdued nature of such a scene when depicted in Annie might be one reason. I believe Shin's psychological aspect greatly influenced this decision. Shin has witnessed his family being horrifically taken away by the flames and explosions of war right before his eyes. He has also seen Stella terrified and confused by flames and explosions. Whether consciously or unconsciously, it wouldn't be strange if Shin was psychologically avoiding the existence of fire, considering his experiences choosing water, which holds the opposite impression to fire, as the means for Stella's send-off might be a natural outcome. Of course, from an anime production standpoint, there might also have been an intention to use water for the farewell scene of Shin and Stella, who met at the sea. Thus, the reason why Shin alone sunk Stella into the lake and held her funeral has become clear. Now let's turn our attention to the topic at hand, the decomposition of Stella. Firstly, what kind of phenomenon is decomposition? I think considering decomposition as a sad or frightening phenomenon is based on human-centered reasoning. Indeed, decomposed objects can be sources of diseases, and it is normal instinct to view decomposition as a phenomenon to be avoided. But this is a matter of human convenience. In essence, the phenomenon of decomposition is nothing more than one of the natural phenomena. It is fundamentally about being broken down by microorganisms and, in the form of nutrients, supporting the lives of plants and other organisms. Stella, having been manipulated physically by others, her memories and life used as tools, is an entity that has significantly deviated from nature. Through the phenomenon of decomposition, could she not potentially return to nature? I conclude that the lake was the most appropriate place for Shin to part with Stella. The phenomenon of decomposition itself is not the problem, and observing the path she has followed, it might even be apt to describe it as a very peaceful conclusion. Blue Cosmos, who touted the phrase for the preservation of our blue and pure world, yet conducted human modification. The Zaft forces who do inevitable desired Stella's body as a specimen. The scene where Shin was able to give Stella an end different from either a natural conclusion stands out. Today, we have discussed a scene depicted in Gundam Seed Destiny. How do you feel about it? Can you think of any other ways to rescue Stella besides returning her to the Earth forces? One possibility could have been for Shin to seek the help of Chairman Duano. Duano holds information beginning with the data on the destroyed Gundam. There is a high probability that he possesses information related to sustaining Stella's life. Extendeds are one of the most crucial components of the destroyed Gundam. Furthermore, the abilities of the extendeds are tremendous. In the novel version, there are descriptions of Afram recognizing Sting Okri as an exceedingly powerful pilot. He faces him with a sense of urgency, aware that any moment of carelessness could lead to his defeat. A pilot who can fight on par with someone like Afram is extremely valuable. Additionally, Duano has accurately identified Shin's suitability as a pilot, entrusting the Impulse Gundam to Shin, not with a Burrow, is one such instance. To Duano, who needs Shin as a pawn, Stella is valuable in two senses. While increasing Shin's dependence on Duano, it will be possible to secure a powerful pilot as a piece. However, being saved for such reasons might not necessarily be a happy thing. This concludes today's program. Thank you for watching until the end. Let's meet again in the next program.